my neighbor's open doors policy turned my life into a nightmare. The boxes were mostly unpacked, enough to make the place feel livable. Livable was a huge step up from stark reminder of everything I lost, which had been the apartment for the last 6 months. Divorces will do that to you. I poured myself a glass of water, the tap squealing a bit, another thing to add to the endless list of new homeowner to-dos. The neighborhood was quiet, almost unnervingly so. Exactly what I needed. No more shared walls, no more echoing arguments, no more Emily. A gentle knock echoed through the mostly empty living room. I hesitated. I wasn't exactly in the mood for meeting the neighbors, but fresh start, right? I plastered on a smile and opened the door. He was older, maybe mid-60s, with a kind face and a gentle smile. Welcome to the neighborhood. I'm Arthur, your next-door neighbor. Just wanted to introduce myself. Liam, I replied, shaking his hand. His grip was surprisingly strong. Thanks. I'm still getting settled in. Nonsense. Come over for coffee tomorrow morning. Say, around 10, I insist. Widow's hours, you know. Keeps me company. He chuckled, a warm, inviting sound. My door is always open, Liam. Always. I wasn't a coffee drinker, really, but I didn't want to be rude. Sure, Arthur. 10 sounds good. He beamed. Excellent. See you then. Arthur's house was cozy. Overly so. Every surface was covered with knickknacks, framed photos, and antique doilies. It felt less like a home and more like a museum exhibit. He ushered me into the kitchen, a small, cluttered space that smelled faintly of cinnamon and old books. So, Liam, he said, pouring me a cup of tea. Apparently, coffee was off the table. Divorce, eh? Rough business, that. But a new beginning, wouldn't you say? I took a sip of the tea. It was surprisingly good. Yeah, a fresh start is exactly what I need. Arthur nodded sagely. And what do you do, Liam? Besides, running away from marital strife? I laughed, a little awkwardly. I'm a software engineer, mostly remote work these days. He seemed fascinated. He peppered me with questions about my job, my ex-wife, my hobbies. It was intense. But he was also a good listener, and I found myself opening up more than I intended. He was a retired history professor, he explained, and had lived in this house for over 30 years. His wife, Margaret, had passed away just last year. She loved this house, he said, his voice softening. She loved having people over. That's why I have this open door policy, you see, keeps the place alive. Over the next few weeks, Arthur became a constant presence in my life. He'd pop over unannounced, always with some small offering. A homemade pie, a jar of jam, a story about the neighborhood's history. He even started doing my laundry, claiming his machine was much better than mine. It was, a lot. One afternoon, I was struggling to assemble a bookshelf when Arthur appeared in my doorway. Having trouble there, Liam? Let me give you a hand. I appreciated the offer, but something felt off. No thanks, Arthur. I've almost got it. He frowned, a subtle shift in his demeanor. Nonsense. A man needs help sometimes. Don't be so stubborn. He practically wrestled the instructions out of my hand. That's when I first noticed it. The locked shed in his backyard. I'd seen it before, of course, but it never registered. It was small, unassuming, and always padlocked. I wondered what he kept in there. Later that week, while I was working in my garden, Mrs. Henderson, the elderly woman who lived on the other side of Arthur, shuffled over to the fence. She had a knowing look in her eyes. "That Arthur," she whispered, her voice raspy. "He's a strange one, that one. Always has been." "He seems nice enough," I said, pulling a weed. "Nice? Maybe. But there's been a lot of disappearances around here over the years. Young women, mostly. Brenda Davies, just a few houses down, vanished without a trace 2 years ago. Before that, there was, well, several. Always around Arthur, I dismissed her concerns. "That's a pretty serious accusation, Mrs. Henderson. Just be careful, dear. That's all I'm saying. He means well, I'm sure. But there's something not right about him." I tried to brush it off as the ramblings of an old woman, but the seed of doubt had been planted. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the locked shed, Arthur's intense gaze, and Mrs. Aby, Henderson's warning. The next day, I met Sarah. She lived across the street and worked at the local coffee shop. We started talking while I was bringing in groceries. She was bright, friendly, and refreshingly normal. "So, you're the new guy," she said, smiling. "How are you liking the neighborhood?" "It's quiet," I said. "Maybe too quiet." She laughed. "Yeah, it has its moments. Just watch out for Arthur next door. He's intense." I raised an eyebrow. Mrs. Henderson said something similar. "What's the deal with him?" Sarah hesitated. "He just gives me the creeps. He comes into the coffee shop sometimes, and he always stares. Makes me really uncomfortable. He asked me about my schedule once. Said he wanted to bring me some flowers." My stomach dropped. "Flowers? Did he say why?" "No, just flowers." I told him I was allergic. She shuddered. "I avoid him when I can." Brenda Davies was the most recent case, but there were others, going back years. All young women, all living within a few blocks of Arthur, and all, at some point, had been seen talking to him. I found old newspaper articles, forgotten blog posts, and online forums dedicated to the disappearances. Theories abounded, ranging from serial killers to alien abductions. But one name kept popping up: Arthur. I tried to rationalize it. Coincidence. Small-town gossip. But the pieces were starting to fit together in a way that chilled me to the bone. Arthur's behavior was getting increasingly erratic. He started showing up at my house at all hours, uninvited. He'd sit in my living room, staring out the window, making cryptic comments about the evils of the modern world. He criticized my choices, my clothes, my friends. He was isolating me, slowly but surely. "You need to be careful, Liam," he said one evening, his eyes gleaming in the dim light. "This world is a dangerous place. You need someone to look out for you." I tried to distance myself from him, but it was impossible. He was always there, lurking in the background, watching. His open-door policy had become a cage. One morning, I woke up to find one of my favorite books missing. I searched everywhere, but it was gone. A few days later, I was weeding my garden when I saw it, lying on Arthur's lawn, partially buried in the flower bed. I confronted him. "Arthur, did you take my book?" He looked at me, feigning innocence. "Your book, Liam?" "I have no idea what you're talking about." I knew he was lying, but I couldn't prove it. The final straw was when I caught him watching me from his window. I was in my kitchen, making dinner, when I glanced outside and saw him standing there, perfectly still, his face pressed against the glass. I slammed the blinds shut, my heart pounding. I knew I had to do something. I confided in Sarah, telling her everything. She was horrified, but she believed me. "We have to go to the police," she said. But I was hesitant. I had no proof, just suspicions and circumstantial evidence. I was afraid they'd think I was crazy. Then Sarah disappeared. She didn't show up for work. Her phone went straight to voicemail. Her apartment was empty. Panic surged through me. I knew, with chilling certainty, that Arthur was involved. I had to find her. I waited until I saw Arthur leave his house to run errands. Then, I grabbed a crowbar and headed for the shed. The padlock was old and flimsy. It snapped easily. I took a deep breath and pushed open the door. The shed was dark and musty, filled with gardening tools and old furniture. But then I saw it, a narrow door, hidden behind a stack of lumber. I pried it open, my hands trembling. Behind the door was a hidden room, and what I saw inside made my blood run cold. The room was lit by a single, bare bulb. The walls were covered with photographs, photos of the missing women, including Sarah. There were personal belongings scattered everywhere, jewelry, clothing, letters, and in the center of the room, a makeshift table covered with strange instruments and vials filled with unknown liquids. It was a laboratory of horrors. I heard a noise behind me. I turned around and saw Arthur standing in the doorway, his face twisted into a mask of rage. "You shouldn't be here, Liam," he said, his voice low and menacing. "Where's Sarah?" I demanded. He smirked. "She's safe. She's resting. She needed to be protected." Protected? What have you done to her? I'm helping her, Liam. I'm helping all of them. They were lost, confused. I'm giving them purpose. He lunged at me, a syringe in his hand. I dodged, knocking him off balance. We struggled, the small room suddenly feeling claustrophobic. You're insane, I yelled, landing a punch. Insane? No, Liam. I'm a guardian. I'm protecting this neighborhood from the filth that infests it. I managed to knock the syringe out of his hand. It shattered on the floor. I saw my chance and bolted for the door. He chased me, but I was faster. I burst out of the shed and ran towards my house, screaming for help. I called the police, and they arrived within minutes. Detective Miller, a jaded, seen-it-all veteran, took my statement. He seemed skeptical at first, but when he saw the shed, his expression changed. They searched Arthur's property, and what they found confirmed my worst fears. Sarah was alive, but drugged and traumatized, in Arthur's basement. The hidden room in the shed was a testament to his madness. Arthur was arrested. He confessed to everything, rambling about his mission to protect the neighborhood. He was found guilty but deemed mentally unfit to stand trial and was committed to a mental institution. They never found the bodies of the other missing women. I testified against Arthur in court. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. The memories of that hidden room, the look in Arthur's eyes, haunted me every night. I sold my house and moved away. I couldn't stay there, not after what had happened. I needed a fresh start, a clean slate. But the memory of Arthur and his open-door policy followed me wherever I went. I couldn't shake the feeling that he was still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting. Years later, I'm living in a new city, in a new house. I have a new job, new friends. I'm trying to move on, to forget. But then, one day, I'm looking out my window and I see her, the elderly woman next door. She sees me looking at her and smiles. She starts to wave. My blood runs cold. Is it over?